जरूरी तो नहीं ना कि हर मैंग और फैंग एम्प्लॉयज के पास एक अच्छी डेवलपमेंट या फिर एक अच्छी डेटा स्ट्रक्चर सिस्टम डिजाइन स्किल हो। नहीं, दूसरे लोगों के पास भी हो सकती है। इस दुनिया में बहुत सारी कंपनीज हैं, राइट, बहुत सारे एम्प्लॉयज हैं जो अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं। जिसमें से मेरे एक सब्सक्राइबर नवीन मेहता, जिनके साथ आज ये वीडियो शूट किया गया, उन लोगों के लिए जो फुल स्टैक डेवलपर बनना चाहते हैं इन जावा स्प्रिंग बूट, फ्रंट एंड एज रिएक्ट। तो आज की इस वीडियो में आपको एक करंट ऑपरेशन मिलेगा जो डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करके दिखाएंगे हमको नवीन फ्रॉम स्क्रैच। ओके, अब ये स्पून फीडिंग नहीं होगा। आपको अपने आप से खुद से मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी, बिकॉज नहीं तो ऐसे वीडियो 3-3 घंटे का बन जाएगा, क्या फायदा। ओके, अगर आप ये वीडियो देखने के बाद चैट जीपीटी ओपन नहीं करते, आई एम टेलिंग यू, यू विल नॉट लर्न। इट्स नॉट ओनली दिस वीडियो, कोई भी वीडियो यूट्यूब की, चाहे आप किसी का कोर्स भी ले लो, जब तक आप चैट जीपीटी ओपन करके खुद प्रैक्टिस नहीं करोगे, हल्का सा दिमाग नहीं लगाओगे, आप नहीं सीखोगे। Okay, so Naveen, who is a lead software engineer at Persistent, had more than 3 years of experience, बहुत अच्छी नॉलेज है। उन्होंने आज हमको पूरा एक प्रोजेक्ट बना के दिखाया। क्रेड ऑपरेशन सिंपल है, बिगनर लेवल पे है, जस्ट एज अ जिसको होता है ना आइस ब्रेकर, किसी को कॉन्फिडेंस लेकर आना कि यार मुझे क्या सेटअप करना पड़ेगा, कैसे एक स्टार्ट करना पड़ेगा, बस एक स्टार्टिंग की बात है। उसके बाद तो मैं सब कुछ खुद बना लूंगा। तो खुद बना लूंगा से पहले जो स्टार्ट करने वाला प्रोजेक्ट है वो आज इस आपको वीडियो में मिलेगा। बिफोर स्टार्टिंग दिस प्रोजेक्ट, जस्ट एन अपडेट, दिस इज माय सेकंड यूट्यूब चैनल। फर्स्ट यूट्यूब चैनल आपको पता ही है, कॉलेज टू कॉर्पोरेट, वहां पे आपको कॉर्पोरेट अवेयरनेस की वीडियोस मिलेंगी, और इस चैनल पे आपको टेक्निकल वीडियोस मिलेंगी, ऑलमोस्ट हर टेक्नोलॉजी की। ओके, अगर आपको वीडियोस अच्छी लगती हैं तो जरूर चैनल सब्सक्राइब करना और लिंक्डइन पे जरूर पोस्ट करना बाय टैगिंग मी एज वेल। एंड इफ यू हैव वन टू वन डाउट्स और यू वांट टू गेट माय कॉलेज टू कॉर्पोरेट किट, जिसके अंदर सारा कुछ पैकेज होगा, फ्रॉम योर नोटिस पीरियड से लेके मल्टीपल जॉब ऑफर्स, रिज्यूमे, सब कुछ, अगर आप वो भी चाहते हो, यू कैन बाय इट फ्रॉम टॉपमेट एज वेल। सो विदाउट फर्दर डिले, लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड।
Hi guys, so today we'll be making a full stack web application using Java, Spring Boot, and React.js end to end. So basically, we'll be using Spring Boot to create the REST APIs on the backend side, and we'll be using React in order to create front-end UI. In order to create backend APIs using Java, we can do that using core Java, but it is very complex. To to make that process a little bit simpler, we are using Spring Boot in most of the companies. To get started, I would suggest you guys to have IntelliJ installed in your laptop. So first you should go to Google and search IntelliJ download for your desired operating system. In my case, it is Mac. So I search Mac here. And after that, I'll click on this first link. It will take me to this website. After that, by default, it will show the ultimate. We should not go for this one, like it is paid version. We should scroll down and always go for this download button and download this package. And after that, we should click on next, and it will install the IntelliJ in our machine. That is a very simple process. And apart from this is enough for backend. And also you should have Java as well, JDK. For JDK, you can search here like JDK 17, Amazon, yeah, this one. It will show this website, and we have to go to this website. Yeah, after going to this website, if we scroll down, we can see a lot of operating platforms are there, operating systems. We can choose any one of them. Like mine is Mac, so I'll be choosing this one. Like this
What is
link,
the,
I'll click on it.
what is what is this used for, Naveen?
Like it will download the JDK, Java Development Kit. It will help us to run the Java programs in the
Okay, हाँ,
machine.
correct. So generally it is pre-installed, but still if it is not, then we can install it, right?
Yes, yes. Generally, it is not
But
installed in machine.
but how to
We
check
have to
if it is
manually.
already installed or not?
Yeah, for that we can do one simple thing. Let me open one. Let me open an IT. Let me open one terminal here. This is one terminal session. If I do
Mhm.
Java minus version, it show the number Java open JDK 17, something like that should come. That means
Okay.
we have Java installed in our machine. Like some value should come. That is the main thing to
Okay.
check whether Java is.
Your font size is very small. Is it possible to make it little big? Perfect. Now this is better at it. Correct. This is fine. Absolutely fine. Correct. Okay, got it. So if it is not 17, then we can install its JDK. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, okay, perfect. Next, yeah, we can, yeah.
Yeah, next after that, we have to click on this link and download the package. Once it gets downloaded in the downloads folder, you should just click on this package and click on next, 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 and it will install the JDK in our operating system. So that is the second priority you have to do. And after that, Java and JDK is downloaded and IntelliJ is also downloaded. So after that, we should install Node.js. Like we have to go to this website, or else in Google, you can search like Node.js. It will show up in the results. Yeah, this first URL. And if you click on download Node.js, it will download the Node.js software in the computer. So basically, we won't be using Node.js to build React related UIs. Mostly we'll be using NPM to create the boilerplate for the React application. I mean, React library. And after that boilerplate, to manage a lot of dependencies like packages, like a lot of dependencies will be there in the React, which will depend on a lot of third-party third-party libraries. For that, we need NPM. So for that is the reason we are downloading this. So once it is downloaded, in order to check whether it is installed in our operating system machine or not, we should simply use node version, this command, node minus minus version. This command will tell whether Node.js is installed in our operating system or not. And also we should check NPM version as well to check whether NPM is installed in our operating system or not. As we can see, it is installed successfully. So these are the only three softwares which we require for installation purpose. So apart from that, let's move on to the actual building of the project. So first, we should go to this website. Like how we can reach is like, first let's search Spring Initializer. Yeah, this is the search. This is the keyword we have to search. And when we search, we'll get this website. First URL, you have to click on it, and it will redirect to this same website, which I'm highlighting here. So once we reach to this website, you have to choose a couple of options. Like you can see the first option, like project. Project means like what kind of build tool you want to use to create this project, like the boilerplate. Or you want to use Maven, Gradle, Gradle with Groovy, or Gradle with Kotlin. So in this project, I will be choosing Maven because it is simplest one. And a lot of companies are using Maven, but these days companies are moving towards Gradle as well. So once you are well equipped with Maven, you guys can move on to this Gradle and learn more about it. This Maven is like a build tool, like how NPM is used to create a dist folder and build file for the front end UI. In the same way, we can create a build folder which is called target on the backend. And in the target folder, there will be one jar file, which is our deployment kind of object for the Java application. To create that, we are using Maven. Like it is having a lot of life cycles, like clean, compile, install. Those are the three ones. Then let's move on to the second option. Then. So basically, we'll be choosing Maven here. And after that, language will be Java. And Spring Boot, this is the framework we are using. Currently, I'm choosing this stable version. Like always recommended to choose this stable version rather than this lower version or snapshot version, because they might have potential bugs and it might break our application. And after that, we have to give some metadata to our project. Like group is there. Group ID means it is ID which is used to uniquely identify our project. That is the purpose. And artifact means like when we do install, like when we do build of our project, then there will be one jar file generated. That jar file will have some name. To determine that name, we are passing this value demo. So if the build is successful and jar file is generated, then it will have this name. And I'll choose name. You can choose any random name that is for our project. And after the description, you can give any description. And package means this is the folder in which our main code will go, like main source code will go. So for now, I'm putting this one, com.crud.basics, which is same as this group ID. And packaging, I'm choosing as jar. So when we do build, then jar file is generated. For that, we are choosing this jar option. And Java, I'm choosing JDK 17 version because that is what installed in our system. And we have, on the right side, we have dependencies. Like there are a lot of dependencies, but we should only choose these 4 dependencies. Spring Web. This dependency is useful for creating web application. I mean, web REST endpoints. So, like if you want to create a controller, and if you want to convert the Java object into JSON and return it to client for that purpose, this dependency is very useful. And after that, I'm also adding this dependency H2 database. Like this is like a driver which will help us to configure database in our application, and it will help us to connect with the actual database, which is H2 database. Like H2 is the internal database, so this is for testing purpose. So as long as our application is running, this database will have the data. But if we stop our server, then the data will get deleted. So that's why it is called an in-memory database, H2 database. And this
Okay,
is,
so likewise, we can use Postgres as well, correct?
yes, you can use Postgres, MySQL. There are a lot of drivers, like you can see
Okay.
MS SQL driver, MySQL is there.
Okay,
We
guys, so
can,
you can explore these things, but we will start with only four. You can go much. I really recommend you to go into much detail by using ChatGPT. Okay, don't rely on this few minutes video. I'm telling you, always do your own research as well for better understanding. Yes, Naveen.
that is correct. So moving on to the third dependency, which we have is Spring Data GPA. It is basically like an interface which will help us to interact with this H2 database. And this H2 database will indirectly interact with the actual database and do the operations. And I have the last dependency is Lombok. So it will help us to generate getters and setters and constructors. Instead of writing manually, we can use annotations and it will automatically generate us. So it will help us reduce some boilerplate code. So after all of this, if you click on generate, it will download the project. So it's in my download folder, this demo zip. And if I extract this zip, this folder will be created. So I'll open this folder in my IntelliJ. Like as you can see, it is opened in my IntelliJ. So,
Font size is very small.
okay, let me increase.
I'm not sure if Control plus plus will work here or not.
Hmm,
Try Control plus. Ah, correct. This is good.
sure. So after I open this project in the IntelliJ IDE, and if I go to like main folder, which is demo application. So if I run this class file, then it will up the server. But since I have already installed a dependency H2 database, so I need to have database configurations in a certain file, which is this file, application.properties.
How did you open this application properties? Which keyboard button?
Yeah, if I do double shift, it will open this pop-up. And if I search a file name, it will open up here, application.properties. In this file, we'll be adding the database configuration. Yeah. So, yeah, these are the configurations we'll be using. So let me paste it down. See, as you can see, there is one red light cursor is coming, a red line error. That means we can't use same properties multiple times. So better to use it single time.
So
So
these properties are mandatory only, means it should be used even in production applications also.
yeah, in production and application, we won't directly hard code these values. We'll be using environment variables, like we'll be creating
Correct.
.env, yes,
Dot
.env file and dynamically change the values here. Since we are
Okay.
doing just a local testing, then for this it is fine. So these properties you guys should put, yeah, like username and password. And after that, we can run this application and it won't throw any error. See, as you can see, the application is running and there is no error. So if I go to localhost 8080, we'll get this error, white error page. This error indicates that the application is running. since we have not added any controllers for this endpoint, that's why we are getting this error, but we can ignore it. Our application is running. So let's first of all add a controller. Controller means endpoint. Like when a client hits a URL on the front end, it should reach somewhere, right? That place is called controller. So I'll paste this code for controller here. I'll create a package. Control. Yeah, you can ignore this red lines. We'll be solving it one by one.
So package you means folder, is it?
Yes, package means folder. Com
Okay.
dot basics.
Okay.
So after that, you can see this REST controller. These annotations will tell us that this class is responsible for handling REST endpoints. So if a client hits a HTTP request on the front end and on the server, it will check this annotation. If it has this annotation, then that HTTP request will come here. And also we have added this request mapping. This will help us to determine the path. Like if the client is hitting like from his UI, like in the JavaScript, if he's hitting this endpoint, then it will come to this class. It will come to this class, and there are a lot of methods are there, which are having post mapping, get mapping, delete mapping, put mapping. All of them are similar to REST mapping only, but these are method specific. So if the same endpoints comes for method is post, in that scenario, this logic will get executed. In the case, if it is get method and this URL, then this method will get executed. That resolution is happening because of this @get mapping, post mappings. That is their purpose. So we have defined the controllers. Now let's move on to creating a DAO object. DAO object is like a class which will interact with the database, which will do the actual CRUD operations. In Spring Boot, we don't have to manually write the entire implementations. We'll simply create an interface and tell the framework what to do, and it will take care of everything on the internally. So let me paste the code for that as well.
Is there any particular naming notations, standards we follow?
Yes, yes. In Java, if we are creating a class or an interface, the first character should be capital, and after that it could be lowercase. And if you are having one more word, then it should be capital. This is the
Okay.
convention with
So font
basically
size,
Pascal.
font size is less. Also, we can call it as a camel case. Okay, not camel case because camel case
Pascal.
starts from Sam. Okay, Pascal.
Yes, it is Pascal case. So we have created this DAO object. So it is not an object, it is basically an interface. So we are telling the framework what to do. So we have created this interface to do repository. Like how we can achieve that functionality of telling the framework like what we want to do. So that it is achieved by using this extends keyword, and we are extending this JPA repository interface. And we'll be passing two values here. One is to do, which is a model. Like I'll be copying that model as well once so that I can explain better. Let me copy this model. Let me create a one more folder model. And in the model, let me paste it. So this model is similar to a table, database table. So basically we're creating a class and we are putting this annotation @entity. So that means this class is mapped to a database table called to-do. So we have this to-do class, which is having this @entity annotation. So basically what happens is like this class will get mapped to a database table. This internal mapping, like creating table, will be taken care by this Spring Data JPA, which we already installed earlier. So in Form XML, you can see this dependency. We can see all the dependencies here. Data JPA. Yeah, this is the interface which is handling all those stuff. So basically, we are creating a class with this annotation. So it will create a table, and each table in MySQL should have a primary key. For that purpose, we are using this @ID. and generated value annotation, we are using a strategy called identity. So basically what happens, like whenever we insert a data, it will insert in this order. Like if I insert on an empty table, first primary key will have 1. And if I insert another volume, it will be like 2, 3, 4, like that the values will get inserted in the table. That is what this line means. And I'm using these 3 annotations: at the rate data, at the rate all args constructor, no args constructor. Basically, having these 2 annotations is same as like creating a constructor with all the fields and creating a constructor without any parameters, like parameterized constructor and default constructor. That is what is done by here. And if you check this at the rate data annotation, it will be responsible for creating getters and setters for this class. Because in Java, we can't directly modify this field. We should use getters and setters to modify these fields. Like that is encapsulation principle. So that is their purpose. These 3 annotations comes from Lombok, which we earlier installed. You can see in form XML. Like how React library has package.json. Similarly, on backend, we have this form.xml where we manage the dependencies. You can see org product Lombok.
So
That's what.
in production applications also this structure is same.
Yes, yes,
Form.xml.
yes, yes. Wherever we go, it is same.
Okay.
Yeah, now the error is gone. So that is the purpose of this class. And this is the model, and this is the DAO class, data access object, which will perform the operations on the DB, the operations. And this is the controller. I'm using this repository in my class. So I'm creating a private variable, and I'm using @AutoWare. This is the property of Spring framework. So if we put this annotation, Spring will automatically create an object of this at runtime, and it will handle its lifecycle methods. So basically initializing with values and cleaning, efficiently handling that object will be taken care by Spring because of this one annotation. So
So
after that,
Spring, Naveen,
yes,
what I understood is Spring Boot is mainly on annotations. Like it is this thing is not in Java, right? This is from Spring Boot. That's why with the use of this, coding is easy.
no, these annotations are already there in Java, but in Spring Boot, these annotations will have different meaning. Like I'm
Okay.
telling the meaning, right, for each annotation, like what is the purpose. Like earlier I told this entity will create a table. This this functionality won't be there in Java. That is only
Oh,
applicable in Spring Boot.
got it. Fine.
I mean, not even specifically Spring Boot, it is part of Spring Data JPA. But that Spring Data JPA is kind of a subset of Spring Boot. So at the end of the Spring Boot is managing all of this. We can
Okay.
consider it like that.
So right now we are going to connect to database.
Yes, yes, we are going to connect to database.
Okay.
If I refresh the application, let it run on the background. Let me explain what is happening in each of the methods. So we have this create to do method, which will take the to do object, like this object it will take from the front end. Like the user will pass task description on the front end, and we'll take that object and we'll use a save method of this DAO object. As we can see, there is no save method, but still we're able to use it because we're able to extend this JPA repository. And as we are extending the JPA repository, we are having this functionality. And also we are using @AutoWare. So Spring Boot is creating that object and even handling all the functionalities like save, find all. Find all means it will find all the entries in the database table. So there is one more method, get ID, not get this find by ID. This will find, if we give a ID, then it will find the row in the table. So all these methods are available in this DAO object which we created, this to do repository. All of this achieved by this extending this class inheritance. So that's what happening. As you can see, this is simple logic for like get mapping, get request, getting all entities, getting all to-dos. Here we are updating the to-dos using save method, and we are giving a response that whatever we have saved in database, we are returning it using this response entity. The purpose of this class is very simple, like it will convert the object into a proper response. Like you can see OK is right. OK means 200 status. It will append a 200 status. Like if you want to give a response with a status code like 200, 200, 204, all of this achieved by this response entity. If we don't use response entity for all of the requests, it will generate 200 only, which will be confusing. So if you're, for example, doing delete, if you're doing delete, then it should, ideally we should give 204 response. But if we don't use response entity, we can't achieve that if we directly return. So that's why we are using this response entity to format our responses better, to have more like a status code we're putting. That is one thing. And we have this delete method, which will take an ID. After taking this ID, like we can see this annotation at the rate path variable. What this annotation will do is like it will extract this ID that we are passing from the request. Like the client will pass this URL from front end. It will take this tree and assign to this long variable. And after taking this ID, we'll check that to-do repository whether it is having this ID in the database or not. If it is having, then if it is
So
having, then
it is first finding it and then it's deleting it.
yes,
And
yes,
then if it is deleted, it means that there is no record and that's why it's saying no content, right?
yes, yes.
Okay, so what if I get a delete successful? How will that message comes?
We won't get anything, like response will be empty. We'll get the status code 200. That's it.
Okay.
Because we're using this no content method.
Okay. No, but if I use delete method, so from UI, on UI I should get some response, na? As okay, can you pass some message? So you can also pass message, right? Like record deleted like that, right? We can also pass. So how will UI get to know that it is deleted?
Like in our scenario, what we are doing is like after calling delete, we are directly doing fill UI manipulations. Like in UI only, we are deleting it from the list
Hmm.
and displaying on the UI. So even after
Oh,
refresh, it will persist. Like for this basic scenario, we are assuming it that it is getting deleted.
okay, okay,
Optimistic approach we are using.
okay.
Yeah, for this we can extend it by adding more functionality, but this is just a basic application. So I'm not having,
So this will be an homework for the viewers. They can extend the functionality of delete. Okay.
yes, yes, that thing they can easily do this.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. So I'll move on to this put mapping, like put request. So what happens is like in put method, we are passing this URL from the front end, like we are hitting this URL, and we'll be passing one object in this format. Like there will be one, basically we'll be passing this to-do object only. There we'll pass this ID and task description, and we'll wrap it in this request body. So whatever we pass in request body from the front end, it will get inserted in this variable because of this annotation that we are using. So once that is achieved, we'll be using find my method of this repository, and we'll get the ID from this request body. Once we get the ID, we'll check whether this ID is there in the repo or not. If it is not there, or else if it is not there, then we'll stuffing it with some value. This is just a dummy value. Mostly it will be there. In case it is not there, we can handle it better, that people can do it after this project is getting released. So after this request to do, we got it from database using this ID, which we are passing from the request. In request to do, we are making the changes, like we are setting the description to new description that we are getting from request body. And after setting it to the request to do, we are saving in the database using this save method of this repository variable. After saving, we are just returning this response.no content. So basically we'll return empty response. Nothing will be there in the response, and the status code will be 200, 204. I mean, 204 is the status code. So as the application is running, let's test it out using Postman. So I'll open the Postman setup. So as you can see, I have opened this URL and it is post. So I'm hitting this endpoint. It is post method, and I'm passing this task description like do host source. And if I click on send, you can see we are getting response 200 OK with ID 1, and task description is getting updated in the database. To validate whether it is getting updated or not, we can go to this get method and basically hit this endpoint. You can see we're getting,
Awesome. Yep.
yeah. If I do delete as well, then it will get deleted. Yeah.
So, okay, delete is 204. Now, if I do get,
Nothing will come, like it will be empty array.
okay, awesome.
Yeah. So basically,
Mm.
yeah. So if I do this, like if I add some
Do
more,
do what, Naveen?
yes,
Do I need to pass any special parameters in authorization, in headers, any
yeah,
separate
yeah,
values?
yes, yes. For this application, it is not required because it is very basic application.
Uh-huh.
Since, but if the user want to add authentication and authorization, if he wants to create a login form, sign up form, in that scenario, they has to pass it. How
Okay.
they'll pass it is like they'll choose this option,
Mhm.
JWT bearer, and they'll pass it.
And they pass their token ID, correct? Yep.
Yes, yes. I think they have to choose this one, bearer token. Here
Mhm.
they will pass the JWT token. For each request, they have to pass it.
Okay, so guys, you can extend this project by doing these enhancements. Okay, it will help you and to get a more grip on these things. Okay, this is how you can move from basic to advanced. Okay, yes, Naveen, yeah, over to you.
Okay. So now, for example, if I'm adding this task again in post request, yeah, as you can see, it is added. And if I want to check this value, whether it is added in the database or not, if we want to validate that, instead of hitting this get endpoint, we can do that by going to console, H2 console, like which is like a database software for this H2 database which we're using. So to open that, we should go to this URL. Yeah. Here I'm using username and password, which I'm getting from here only, like application.properties. You can see username is SA and password is blank. I mean, these are the default credentials we'll get. So that's what I'm using. So if I go to this portal and click on connect. Also, before that, you should check JDBC URL. Like we have one URL here, yeah, data source URL. This thing we have to copy it from this application.properties, and we have to paste it here and click on connect. So you can see mini database management system software is opened in this browser. So you can see at the left side, there is one to-do table. So if I want to check what all values are present in the to-do table, you can see the value which we have inserted using this post method in the postman. You can see this value is getting reflected here. So that means our data is properly persisting in the database. So this is one way you guys can do testing, whether the values are there or not. So I think for now, I think we are good with the backend. Now we'll move on to front end. So for front end, as you guys have already installed Node.js, as I earlier told, so you guys have to go to one website called Vite. So Vite is like a build tool, which will, yeah, Vite is a build tool, which will generate a boilerplate for our React application, using which we can immediately get started, and it will also help us to build the object. Like at the end, we'll build a minified version of the HTML file, and that is what usually gets deployed. For that purpose, also this Vite build tool is quite useful.
I want to add earlier, if you see on YouTube, people have so many videos on create React app, CRA. So must have seen the thumbnails like RIP CRA, because React has officially said that don't use CRA now. Okay, I'm not giving support. So better use build tool like Vite. Vite is very fast. Not earlier, still people are using Webpack, but this is the fastest right now build tool for React applications. So we will do development in the same. Yes, Naveen. We can take it little fast over here.
Yeah, so basically it will help us to build the application easier. Like if you're a beginner, I would suggest you guys to use Beat only. So there is one command you can see, npm create beat at the rate latest. I'll copy this command and paste it in my VS Code. Yeah, this is the VS Code. So if I paste this command and enter, it will ask for the project name. I'll put UI to do that. And after that, I'll choose React as the framework and select a variant. I'll choose JavaScript for now, as it's a simple project. But if you want, you guys can convert it to TypeScript project to make it more less error prone UI. So I'm going to this folder and I'm doing npm install and npm run dev. Basically, what does this npm install does is like whatever dependencies are mentioned in this package.json, like this dependency and dev dependencies, all of them, it will automatically install it. That is the purpose of npm install command.
So it will add node modules folder, first of
Yeah.
all, against the package.json. And second command was npm run dev. If you go into package.json, you must see in here it is written scripts has dev. So scripts, that line number 7 in the same yeah. So 7 line. So npm run is command. So dev is the keyword. Okay. So with this, it will start executing. Now you can check out 5173 is getting started. You can change this value also, URL, port number as well. But yeah, we will continue on the same.
So let's move on to this localhost 5173.
Right now we are using React 19. You must have seen in package.json. Do check it out, the difference between React 18 and React 19, because still many companies are using React 18. Okay. Yeah, sorry, Naveen. I jumped.
Yeah, no. So you can see this is the default template generated by Vite. So I'll try to replace it with my custom code. So first and foremost, I'll delete this asset and I'll remove this.
No, not required as such as per this demo, because these are just extra lines of codes. If you want, you can remove. If you don't want, you can. It's also fine. Okay. So, but we are doing for our ease right now. That's why we are deleted it. So, to understand more about it, better to follow some proper React project. In that, you will get to know. Okay.
Mhm. Like those are the default styles given by Vite, but I want to use my custom styles. So I have
Correct.
deleted it from app.css.
Correct.
Yeah. I'll paste the styles in index.css and I'll go to app.js and paste my code. Let's focus on the logic which is being written. Before that, let's go to UI and how it looks. As you can see, there is one add to do heading is there. and we have put one input form. Like there is one form, inside that there is one input element, and there is one button which is telling I have to do. So if I
You
add
can
something,
you can type subscribe.
no, that works. So if I type subscribe, let me open DevTools as well. Yeah. If I click on subscribe, you'll see one error. Yeah, it didn't got added properly because of this error. Like it is being blocked by yeah, it is being blocked by course policy. So basically what happens is like our front end will make a request and it will make a pre-flight request. In that pre-flight request, it will check for response headers. Yeah, it will check for headers like whether we have access control allow origin, whether that header is there or not. That header will get it from backend. So for that, we have to make some changes on the backend. So let me paste some code in the Spring Boot application. And this is the final piece of code. If we paste it, it will work. Let me create a configuration. So basically what I did is like I put a class with this annotation at the configuration. This is generally used to indicate that this class is for configuration purpose. And we have used this bean at the red bean. The purpose of this annotation is like it will create an object filled with configuration details. That is its purpose at the red bean. And you can see we have one method in that course configurer. In that we are returning this object, and we can see we are allowing the origins. You can see the URL. I'm putting the front end URL. So if the front end is hitting the backend, now it will allow the access to the REST endpoints because of this property. And I have put allowed methods as well. So what all methods are allowed from the front end? So I put these 5 methods for now. Allowed headers, like what all headers are allowed from the front end. So I put start, allow any headers from the front end. We won't validate that for now. And allow credentials. Are we allowing credentials from the front end? That also true. So we can pass username and password from the front end as well. So
Guys, this is very important. Okay, because there are multiple ways of doing this. Okay, so generally, sometimes it happens that third company do these configurations. So you can go much more detail from ChatGPT. Otherwise, we will try to make second part of it on this course only. Yes, Naveen.
that will be helpful as well. So after I make this change, I'll rerun the application. Yeah, now the changes will reflect. So after this, what I'll do is like I'll add something. Now we won't get the error. See, as you can see, the value is getting added. And if I check the network tab, see option happen. And you can see now this headers is coming, like access control, allow headers, allow origin. This is important. Like in the pre-flight request, these values are important. If it is not coming, then the further request will get denied. But since these values came, this request is successful and we are getting the response. And we are parsing it in the UI and displaying it. That code I'll explain it now. So this is the single file change I did. I mean, this is not a good practice. So ideally we should divide it to multiple components. That I think you guys can do it. For now, it is a simple project. I did it in single file. So what is happening is like I have created this user effect hook. Like this hook is responsible, like when we render this app component. So initially this function will get called use effect. As I put to this empty array, so that means it will get rendered only once. That is at the initial loading. And in that initial loading, I'm calling this function fetch to do's. So what is happening is it is a async method. So that means you can think like it is making a backend call. That's why I put this await and fetch API. Like fetch API is used to make backend calls, and it will return a JSON. So this is the backend endpoint we're calling. And you can see API/todos, and the method is by default get because we didn't mention anything. So after that, we'll get this response in this variable, and I'm using this JSON method. So what does it do? It like it will parse the JSON to JavaScript object. Like in this case, it will be array of to-dos because this get method is returning array of objects.
On line number 100, if you see, it's a form on which you click some button, submit button, right? So it's having one input. On change is a function, so means when you type something, it will store in a state, and there is a button which says that update to do, add to do. So if you are editing, then it will show update. If you are not editing, then it will show add. And when you click that, handle add or update to do, a function will be called. So in this, we are handling addition and addition and updation both. Okay, so if addition, then we are doing one set of operation. If you are doing updation, addition, then another set of operation. So likewise, here we have CRUD, CRUD. So create, okay, read, update, and delete. So one function we have for delete as well. Okay, so each will do its own function, and if you see above, so there is an API call in each of them. So await fetch. So you are, which Naveen showed you while making APIs, that you will have this in course we allowed this localhost 8080, and then you have a endpoint API/todos, and another will have a dynamic value of ID in delete, otherwise in add it is. So each will having its own endpoint. Okay, so 4 endpoints. So once this thing is done, if you scroll down, API call is successful, your state is updated, set to dos. So set to dos is a function which is actually updating the to do. So once that is done, so if you go down, it is used here to dos.map because we have to do a loop. And scroll down, yeah, last line 118. So map means now we have an array, and on array we will put a loop. So we will put a todos.map in which we will have todo.id and todo.description, two values. So that's why we are bifurcating it. Okay, we are taking its object values. Okay, so like this, and on each we have two buttons, edit and delete, which Naveen will show you.
So if I go to UI and click on edit, it will fill the same value in this form input. So we can, and the button also changes the text update to do, and we can see the heading as well. It also changes. So if I try to make some changes and click on update to do, you can see the value is getting changed and the form input became empty. That is the edit functionality. And if I click on delete, then it will delete this to do. So earlier I told like we are not sending any content from backend. Like we are sending to do just 204. So that's what happening. Like we are not validating in the front end. We are just
Can you
doing
show the network tab also
yeah,
for edit?
yeah, put method. Response is nothing. 204. No content.
Okay.
Yeah, that is happening because of this changes we made on backend. Like this update to do. We are returning no content. So 204.
Perfect.
So that is the edit functionality. If I go to handle edit method, you can see we are making the fetch call, but we are not assigning the result to a variable. That is because we are not returning any content from the backend. We are assuming that the backend is successful as it's a simple application, but you guys can handle it appropriately. So on the assumption that backend is successful, we'll setting the to-dos by using this filter operation. What the give current ID, except current ID, we are putting all the to-dos in this, all the to-do in this to-dos variable. And after that, we are updating the state. So the component will re-render again, and this logic will get executed, and it will show the updated UI. So let me do delete task. You can see the value is deleted and re-render happened. If I refresh, it is showing the correct value. If I add something, add, and if I click on edit, it is showing the value in the input. And if I edit and click on update, it is updating properly, and the delete task also is working properly. So this is the functionality we have created, like a CRUD application. You guys can extend it as much as you want. Like you guys can add pagination. Like if I have too many to-dos, like if I have hundreds of to-dos, then we have to constantly scroll down. Rather than that, you guys can add pagination here. You can show page numbers. Hello.
Pagination, load
Yes,
more.
yes.
Okay, these tools are very common when it comes to machine coding around interview, so you can go that with that as well.
Yes, correct. You
So
can
anything else, anything else apart from this, or we are done in
yeah,
terms of coding, I'm asking.
yeah, I think we are done mostly. In case you guys want to explore further, you guys can refer these two websites. It has
Okay.
documentation.
कैसा लगा ये वीडियो? कुछ नया सीखने को मिला, एक कॉन्फिडेंस आया हल्का सा। सो थैंक यू सो मच। अगर आपको ये वीडियो अच्छी लगी तो जरूर सब्सक्राइब करना और दोबारा प्रोजेक्ट्स बनाना, यहीं पे स्टॉप नहीं है ना, बिना देख के बना के दिखाना। ठीक है, थैंक यू सो मच, बाय बाय।